Hello, everybody. Let's get started on our next thing. If I can, get this bigger. There we go. Hi. All right. So, we are going to talk about excretory systems. So, we've got to understand functions, anatomy, physiology of the excretory system, which includes, well, its main function, you know, is excrete waste, but it also is there to filter your blood. So we've got to talk. Liver's part of it. We know what the liver does. It helps filter your blood. We're going to talk mostly about the kidneys, the bladder, urethra, things like that filter your blood and excrete waste. So we'll talk about urination. Now, here we go. You already know the two main functions. We got filtration of blood and excretion of waste. So first, the blood has to be filtered in the kidneys, and you have to excrete the waste, and that's called urination. So let's look at the excretory system anatomy. Alrighty. Well, first off, you have your kidneys here. That's a kidney. So this right here is an inside look. If you cut it, you make a frontal cut across the kidneys. Kidneys actually sit up in your back right around here. Right there. Yay. And then we have right here what is called a ureter. Here's the bladder. And here is the urethra. So, bladder is really cool. It's actually made of some cells that are very unique because they're very stretchy. And when the bladder stretches out, it sends signals to your brain to excrete the waste, which is really cool. And another thing in here that you might see is this little thing right there. That's a muscle. It's called a sphincter muscle. And it's going to allow you to hold in the urine if, you're on a long drive or something. So sphincters are very important. And yeah, when you relax the sphincter, that's when you can urinate. Pretty cool. So what's going to happen? All right. So in here, I'm not too worried about you guys knowing the renal pelvis and stuff like that. I'll label a few other things just so you guys know. But right here, anything that has to do with kidneys in the medical field is called renal. So this is the renal artery. That means this is the renal vein. Okay. We also have the renal cortex out here. So cortex, so I don't have to do so much. Cortex. This is the medulla. Renal medulla. Here's the renal pelvis. And then you have the ureter right here that leads out. And it kind of goes here. Oh, that was pretty good. Stayed inside the lines. All right. Now, that's the anatomy of the kidney. So here's the kidney. Now, let's look at what's happening physiologically. So what's the physiology of the kidney and how is it actually working? So what happens is the artery brings in the blood into this little structure right here. This is called the glomerulus. Of the Bowman's capsule. So this whole thing right here is called the Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule. And what it's going to do is it's going to suck out some of the water. So it's going to kind of get rid of a lot of the waste and things like that that's in there. So Let's do green, sure. All right. So it's going to suck out the amino group, from your proteins that breaks out. It's going to suck out the water, some of the water, right? Because it still needs to maintain fluidity. So you're going to get rid of, the green, you're going to take out water, aminos, carbs, so carbohydrates are going to come out here, and other waste like urea that builds up, so other things that are in your urine. Now, as it comes out, it's going to come down this little loop right here, See that? That is called the loop of Henle. Loop of Henle. And what's going to happen here, notice, here's this huge capillary bed right here. So the artery's coming in here, right? That means we've got to have some nutrient exchange happening here. So this is right here at the glomerulus is where the filtration is happening. Now here you're going to have, right, all that water, aminos, carbs, all here in this loop of Henle. Notice it's about 1 cell thick, just like the capillaries are. So water is actually going to be reabsorbed here in this loop of Henle. Reabsorption, we've talked about that in the large intestine. So reabsorption of the water in your nephron. So this whole structure right here, this circle, is called the nephron. I like to call them Zach nephrons. So yeah, that whole structure is a nephron. You have about 1 million of them per kidney, which are going to filter blood. It'll filter pretty much all the blood in your body in about a minute. That's good, right? So then once it leaves, it's going to go, once all that watery absorption has happened, it's going to go here and into this structure right here, which is called the collecting duct. So it's there to collect the waste. And it goes down here, and that actually leads through here, right? So it's going to lead through this medulla into the renal pelvis and down to the ureter. So all those nephrons are in the cortex right here. So you're going to have all these millions of nephrons, well, million per kidney, to filter blood and then excrete the waste. So once that blood is filtered, right, it comes down out the ureter and is stored in the bladder until it is released out the urethra. One cool thing about males and females, males' urethra is usually anywhere from 6 to 9 inches long, whereas the females is 2 to 3 inches long. So my wife's pregnant and, she's having to urinate a lot because the baby's pushing on her bladder. And yeah, that's always exciting, Oh, so exciting. And that's pretty much it for excretory system. I love it. It's awesome. Need to filter that blood. Oh, one thing you guys might be interested in. Most kids will have questions about kidney stones. So what happens with kidney stones here, I'll erase some of this so let's just erase a bunch of this. All right. What kidney stones are is a lot of the chemicals we eat and drink, they all get filtered through the kidneys. And so what's going to happen is some of those chemicals, a lot of kidney stones are made out of like calcium and different minerals. And so they'll build up in here. And I want you to notice how I draw this. It's all like sharp and jagged because, right, it's a crystalline structure. And if it gets to be bigger than the ureter, right, and it comes through, that's tiny. And so they'll break off of the kidneys, the renal pelvis, and they'll actually go through the ureter, which is a tiny little tube, and you have a sharp object going through a tiny little tube. It doesn't feel very good. So be careful what you eat and stay safe. All right, that's it.